Okay? And you say these two things, the White House has got it completely wrong. Their math is wrong. This isn't about bad policy, you say, although it may be ultimately, but you say it's about bad math. Explain.
Well, the formula you have there, basically what it does, it divides the trade deficit, which is the numerator here, by total imports, which is the M in the denominator. And then to make their approach look a little more sophisticated, they added those two Greek letters, epsilon and phi. The epsilon they set at 4, and phi they set at 0.25. So they cancel out in the U.S. Trade Representative's report on the matter. Now, they claim that they picked that value for phi, which is the change in import prices when a tariff changes. They claim that they picked that 0.25 based on a result in a research paper, but they picked the wrong number. That number should be close to 1. Now, 1, of course, is 4 times as big as 0.25. So if you put in the right number, the change in the tariff goes down by a factor of 4. And so every tariff they calculated based on this formula is 4 times higher than it should be. So what does that mean?
Republican megadonor and Home Depot founder Ken Langone calls the tariffs, quote,
You heard that right. Trump's administration just used bad math, not bad policy, bad math, to justify tariffs that could cost billions. Even Republican megadonors are calling it out as bullshit, and economists say it's not just wrong, it's economically dangerous. Trump's new tariff plan just got torched, not by liberals, not by the media, but by conservative economists who discovered a basic math error that inflated tariffs by 400%. If you're done with the spin and ready for the truth behind Trump's so-called economic strategy, hit subscribe now. Let's break it all down. It all started with Trump's latest trade plan, slapping new tariffs on countries like Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. But economists from the American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank, took a closer look. They're finding,
I don't understand the goddamn formula. I believe he's been...
Let that sink in. The White House used a broken formula to calculate tariffs, not flawed policy, broken math. And here's the twist. Even Trump's own allies are bailing.
I don't understand the goddamn formula. I believe he's been...
So what's the formula? Economist Kevin Corinth and Stan Vogler broke it down on live TV.
You have there, basically what it does, it divides the trade deficit, which is the numerator here, by total imports, which is the M in the denominator. And then to make their approach look a little more sophisticated, they added those two Greek letters, epsilon and phi. The epsilon they set at 4, and phi.
But the Greek variable pi, which represents how much prices rise when tariffs are added, was set to 0.25. It should have been 1.0, 4 times higher.
Now, 1, of course, is 4 times as big as 0.25. So if you put in the right number, the change in the tariff goes down by a factor of 4. And so every tariff...
That means Trump's supposed 50% tariff should actually be under 14%. And the White House's response? Crickets.
Peter Navarro was asked about this yesterday morning. They have not disagreed with us on the substance. In fact, what we've seen is that senior members of the administration, Steve Myron yesterday, who's the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, Scott Bessent this morning, who's the Treasury Secretary, they have both said, we had nothing to do with this formula. That was other people in the administration. And so, normally if you're convinced of the accuracy, the wisdom of your policies, you do not point fingers at other people in the administration.
Peter Navarro dodged. The Council of Economic Advisors said it wasn't them. The Treasury, same thing. No one will own it, and no one will fix it. Let's talk numbers. Countries like Cambodia were hit with tariffs 4 times higher than they should be. And that error, it wasn't minor.
If you divide them by 4, it goes down by a lot, as you see here. And so if they had done the calculations correctly, thank you for putting them on screen, we would have ended up with a set of tariffs that barely exceeds 10% in any country.
That's the difference between mild trade friction and full-blown economic warfare. Former Export-Import Bank President Fred Hochberg laid out the consequences.
Well, well, thanks for having me on the show. It ruins or wrecks the stability that the United States has been known for. In a very chaotic world, we have been a stable force, both through our currency, our rule of law, and the fact that we're the largest economy in the world.
Even the markets noticed.
Take a look at this. The Dow Jones Industrials now up almost 1,400 points. That's a huge.
That's how unstable this administration's policies are. One sign of retreat and investors go wild with relief. And it gets worse. Hochberg explains the ripple effect. Tariffs on bananas from different countries could vary wildly. Auto parts imported from overseas now cost more. Even if the cars are built in America, manufacturing is now a high-risk gamble because no one knows what the next tariff will be.
Well, here, if we're going to negotiate one by one the tariffs right now, starting a week later, how am I going to build a factory here that takes 4 or 5 years to build when the tariffs may go up, may go down, may disappear? Mr. Trump is going to be out of office in 2029. The next president may not continue any of these tariffs.
Here's the twist no one saw coming. Trump's tariff formula didn't just miscalculate percentages, it shattered the foundation of US trade stability. Fred Hochberg, former president of the Export-Import Bank, and dropped this bomb. Why?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. It ruins or wrecks the stability that the United States has been known for. In a very chaotic world, we have been a stable force, both through our currency, our rule of law, and the fact that we're the largest economy in the world.
Because Trump wants to negotiate tariffs country by country, product by product. Bananas from Costa Rica? One tariff. Bananas from the Philippines? Another. Car parts from Germany? New rule next week.
By the way, it's the most popular fruit in America, and that cost is going to go up.
Bananas, the most popular food in America? Is that what you're saying?
This is trade chaos, not trade policy. And what's Trump's long-term vision? But as Hochberg explains,
tariffs right now, starting a week later, how am I going to build a factory here that takes 4 or 5 years to build when the tariffs may go up, may go down, may disappear? Mr. Trump is going to be out of office in 2029. The next president may not continue any of these tariffs.
It's not a plan, it's a bluff. This isn't just an economic crisis, it's a diplomatic one. Because America's soft power, with its influence, trust, and values, is now collateral damage. Hochberg breaks it down.
About that, one of our great soft power, one of our great exports has been entertainment, films, movie, higher education.
And now, students who would have been ambassadors for American values are being treated like threats. The result? Fewer international students, less cultural exchange. Weaker global influence. That's not how superpowers stay on top. Trump's tariffs aren't just bankrupting families, they're bankrupting our reputation, all over a formula with a misplaced decimal point. This isn't a trade war, it's a policy blunder of historic proportions. And it's the American people, farmers, workers, and students who are paying the price. Drop a comment. Should anyone trust Trump's economic strategy after this? Share this video. Everyone needs to see what happens when bad math becomes national policy. Subscribe now, because if this is the formula they're using, imagine what else is broken behind the scenes.